Hello, good about SC viewers. If you are new to the channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell. Mr. Chinedu Michael, there seems to be fire on the mountain currently in Nigeria. This after the United States of America came out heavily against Sharia, against Hizbah. And of course, they have even told Nigerian government to cut tie with those who sponsor terrorism in Nigeria. But beyond that, let us quickly look at what is coming from the south is rejecting every Sharia move from the north. Let's start from there.
Yeah, it has to be rejected and rejected completely. We have seen several movements from the north when Buhari was in power. Most of this movement was indirectly powered by Muslims from the west, Yoruba land. Let me just put it that way. Until there was a massive resistance from the Christian communities in the west here in the Yoruba land that spoke against the overwhelming push to carry out some level of Islamization policies in Nigeria under Buhari as at that time. All of a sudden, we thought that this thing has actually, got down. But to some people, who are on the know, predicted that the stepping down of that push as at that time, they will still need to go back and begin to redraw the map at some point, and it became very clear that the revelation was also being thrown open by His Royal Majesty Igwe, Lawrence, the man who challenged the federal government to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in a health summit in Abuja, where he told the Oni of Ife clearly that the Igbo nation would not be part of the Southern Traditional Rulers Council. The word council there means that it will be a government, it will become a government that will push some level of policies, and the fear there is that apart from that, the Oni of Ife will now become a permanent member of that Southern Traditional Rulers Council,
Well, Mr. Chinedu Michael, let me jump in here. This portion of the United States of America, we understand that the head of the Fulani Caliphate is Sokoto, and the chairman of, or rather the permanent chairman of Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs in Nigeria is Sultan of Sokoto. Now, saying that America is against Hizbah and Sharia law, this looks like a direct confrontation with the Fulani Caliphate, the Sharia where Sultan of Sokoto is the head.
I'm telling you, they are already pushing it to the south part of the country through the traditional institution. Because if you don't understand what Oni actually meant and why the Igbo people from the south and the southeast, even from the middle belt, are saying no to that agenda, is that the Ile Ife kingdom, the Oni of Ife, will become a permanent, traditional ruler in that council. Then why the Sultan of Sokoto will become, the supreme leader of all the traditional institutions in Nigeria, including South, Southeast, Southwest, and of course, Middle Belt and other northern part of the country. So the question is this: how can two traditional rulers, become permanent? How can this thing be manipulated to that extent that we'll have one supreme leader and we'll have one permanent leader? Then they'll be able to take a certain decision. That is another plan to make sure that they keep on to push the religious Sharia through the traditional institutions. But coming to what the United States actually meant by giving such conditions, because they have gone and they have done their findings and find out that, Sharia is a threat to Christians in Nigeria. Sharia is just the rules and regulations that guides Islam. And there's no how you are going to separate Sharia from Islam. Sharia and Islam works hand.
Mr. Chinedu Michael, let us quickly look at this development, a situation where it has been reported that there's an attempt to have a traditional ruler council of Nigeria, where the Sultan of Sokoto, who is the head of the Fulani Caliphate in Nigeria, will be a permanent chairman. The same way he is the permanent chairman of the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs in Nigeria. And this, of course, have seen traditional rulers in the south, particularly the southeast and south, are saying, no, this cannot happen. We have never been conquered in the past. After all, in the time of Osman Afodo, he never conquered the south side, the southeast, even the southwest. That this time around, politically, will not accept it. Let me get your view.
Right, definitely, that is what that was already buried, that was made public by the Israel Lawrence, that was thrown to the public again. The issue has actually been there. People are struggling to define and find out actually the purpose and the mission where we have the Sultan of Sokoto, coming up in disguise with another policy of trying to Islamize the nation through the traditional leaders.
But I think this one looks like through the back door.
Yes, of course. Now that's what I'm saying. Now, after the third agenda under Buhari, they come up again. So you can know very clearly now that their mission is just beyond political conquest. They just want to look at ways they can penetrate, in disguise through the traditional institutions, through the traditional leaders, to be able to paint a certain picture that it is about politics, it's politically motivated, and we need to bring traditional rulers, traditional institutions to the policies before the federal government to be legislated under the Senate. When you couple all these things now, the question is why make the Sultan of Sokoto the permanent supreme leader of all the traditional institutions in Nigeria? If you come to history, actually, the Sultan of Sokoto is no match to the Kingdom of Ife. It's no match to Ife. These are just institutions that was created by the colonial masters to make certain interests look as if it is worth it, but it is not worth it. So those are not the oldest kingdoms in Nigeria. Then how come Sultan of Sokoto will become the only supreme leader of all the traditional rulers in Nigeria?
If you permit me to jump in here, just because of what we said, if you cast your mind back to memory lane, the Fulanis came to Nigeria in southern 14th century, meeting the Yoruba, the Igbos, and even the Hausa indigenes on ground. As we have it, Wikipedia have it that currently the Fulani are just about 50 million people. Of course, Hausas are about 60 million people. Now, it has been all over the media, enough fact that the Fulani already subjugated the north. Is it an attempt to subjugate the entire country?
Of course, and that's why I'm saying that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also a pro-North in disguise. There's nothing to. He's purely a pro-Islam, pro-Sharia, pro-North. This Bola Ahmed Tinubu you are seeing, because under his administration, that was when they proposed another Islamic push agenda towards the southern. The fact that the use of arms struggle to impose and Islamize Nigeria might not be able to, get the required result, especially understanding that majority of Christians are in the south. Then they now look at it from that angle that, I think the best thing for them to do is to penetrate through the traditional, institutions, then form a council. For people who does not understand what council is all about, council means government. That means they are trying to impose the government of the traditional leadership, or impose Sharia on the government of traditional leadership in all the south, southeast, southwest, and the rest of them. And they got it to that point that, this plan, unfortunately, when they invited these traditional rulers for a meeting, they don't tell them the real thing. They try to paint a certain picture, but at the end of the day, the thing got exposed, and it has been rejected by the south and southeast traditional leaders. What that means is that, they are still insisting that they are going to go on with it. But let me take you back. A few days ago, we saw the Sultan of Sokoto, the Oni of Ife, had a closed-door meeting with the president of Nigeria. And we don't know whether there is serious problem in regards to that. That was few days after Rally Moore actually made the report public, where the Northerners are threatening that they cannot do without Sharia, and that Nigeria is a Muslim nation, according to Gumi, who stated it very clearly that Nigeria is a Muslim nation. the Yorubas, the Southwesterners, most of them are already battling with that position because they do not know, where the whole thing is going to land at the end of the day. But the problem is that, these conditions, the Northerners are threatening that it's not going to work. The Sharia is part of their life. The Sharia is the rules and regulation, that guides their Islamic practice and religion in Nigeria. They cannot do without it. So what are they trying to tell everybody is that, they refuse to identify that Sharia also has brought a lot of problem within the Islamic religion itself. And secondly, the Ohanese, the Igbo leaders themselves are standing on a very strong ground to question the rationale why Sharia should not be actually abolished. That after all, that Nigeria is a secular nation. That if they cannot abolish Sharia in Nigeria, I think that the best thing the United States will look into was and begin to look at ways to create a safe sport region for Christians all over the world.
Now,
Nigeria.
Saturday, Michael, if I need to jump in here, looking at the position or recommendation of the United States of America regarding Nigerian situation, what was very prominent is against Sharia law, against Hizbah. And we understand that currently our 12 states operate Sharia law in Nigeria. Do you think the way it stands, Trump and really more want to crush the Fulani Caliphate?
Yeah, I don't think the only people, because at the end of the day, if Iran, it actually goes down today and there's change of government, the Fulanis, leaders, Muslims in Nigeria, politically, might go into, might definitely go underground because they will not be able to have the required muscle or strength from their sponsors to begin to drive this ideology that has disalived millions of people, killed Christians, more than the Muslims. Yes, you can go and fact check. So this ideology has actually disalived a lot of Christians more than the Muslims. But if you look at it very well, do you think that what America is doing in Iran today might likely give the Hausa nation, Hausas themselves, a kind of strength to challenge, because most of them are already coming up now to tell the whole world that the Fulanis, we are not they are not indigenous people, and that with the head of alleged sponsor, Iran, going down very clearly any moment from now, that they can actually rise against the Fulanis in the north and chase them away. And that is in the other part. So likely, we might see a serious, communal clash of ideology, whether they are to allow Islam or to allow Sharia at the end of the day. But because they are being conquered and dominated by the Fulanis, it will be very difficult for the Fulanis to reject outright scrapping of Sharia at the end of the day. And of course, the position of America might change as a result of their stand.
Okay, now let us look at this trending video, of course, where the people from the southeastern part of the country, once they say southeast, we know it's synonymous with Biafra, are vehemently opposing, rejecting anything Sharia. Call it Hizbah, call it Sharia, we say no. Let me speak to us.
Yes, but you know that Hizbah has been a 16 before now. It has been there in the north, but the government actually covered it up and keep quiet. But if it were in other region, such a thing was being established, like the ESN, then they would have gone wide and begin to look for all manner of stories, to make sure that they destroy it, completely. The Hizbah has been there, running as a Sharia army or Islamic army. Let me just put it that way. They have been there, but now that this state has been exposed to that extent that it has gotten international attention at the end of the day, the Igbo nation are insisting, that if Nigeria is a secular nation and not an Islamic nation, they should do away with Sharia. And for that reason, why they are killing people, why they are disaliving people and burning houses, is because of Sharia. Because, people are seen to contravene the rules of Islam. When you contravene the rules of Islam, then that means you got against Sharia. And the only thing that is left for you is death penalty. So anybody that is not obeying or understanding what Sharia is all about. It is very clear. It is the conduct while of